the objectives for today. So I'll explain the structures. So this, if we talk about navigating the system, which is pretty much the main sort of bones around the session, we'll be looking at the reports available. So that will be how I will demonstrate what you can do in the reports or what you can see, and also explaining other functionalities like how to filter and export reports as well. So just to start things off, just giving you a bit of background, a bit of context, is to explain the current reporting system. Now we have the new reporting system, which is what you're here for today, but it's always good to explain how it started, where it came from, and the idea for analytics and this new product is based around what we currently had, or the old reporting tool now, which is known as Data Monitor. So Data Monitor is used by our members. So when it comes to reporting, and when we're talking about reporting, what we mean by that is, the ethical data that's completed by you suppliers, like the self-assessment questionnaire, the uploading your audits and the information in those that against your sites, your buyers or your customers can run reports on that. So they can run a collective reports on, for example, how many of the suppliers have completed the self-assessment questionnaire. Yeah, you can also do that as suppliers. You can run reports on your own sites. So that's what we mean by reports. And the current system, which is Data Monitor, or the old system, which is Data Monitor, that was launched in 2016. It's for what it does, it's a really good reporting tool. It gives you sort of loads of information, loads of data, and you can extract it, use it in different ways, and you can also export it in and use it in external systems. So the feedback from the old reporting tool, which is Data Monitor, is the fact that what it does is great. I want it to do more. From feedback from ourselves at Sedex, and also from you, the members, is the fact that we want it to do more and give us more sort of answers straight away. With Data Monitor, it is static information, so you have to kind of filter the information and remove columns and so forth to kind of give you like an answer to maybe a question you might ask. So we've listened. We now have the new reporting tool, which I'll show you what that does. But this is where it started in 2016, launched. Now with Data Monitor, it's still available. So this old reporting tool is still available up until the beginning of next year. We didn't want to remove it straight away. That wouldn't be fair on you. Anyone that's used to using that reporting tool, it's given everyone enough time to sort of get used to the change, used to the transfer, and at some point transferring. Now, what I would say to anyone that's used Data Monitor and still using it is the fact that at some point it will be removed at the beginning of next year. So I would say you want to be looking at analytics and getting the feel of analytics as soon as possible, and then also providing your feedback on analytics. If there's something missing, if there's something it's not doing what you're familiar with maybe in Data Monitor, then I will be pointing you into the direction of how you can provide your feedback. So that's very important that you are, as soon as it's available now, so accessing the new reporting tool and getting that information there. So the new reporting tool, this is what you're here for. Let's move on to that. Right. So this reporting tool is known as Sedex Analytics. This is the name of it. So if you ever see that name and the fact that you're here, you've seen it anyway, that's what we're talking about. And it's an improved reporting to Data Monitor. So what does that mean? So if you think about Data Monitor, anyone that's familiar with it, it's very, again, static information that doesn't really kind of tell you anything until you start filtering, until you start adding things in there. It doesn't really give you sort of key KPI information or anything like that. It just kind of sits there, and you have to tell it what you want to see. Yeah. So again, with analytics, there is more interactive. There's KPIs, or key performance indicators, in each of the reports, telling you answers straight away. Yeah, giving you answers straight away. You can filter it by clicking the information. It's interactive. Again, I will be showing you So there is, major improvements on it, and also the fact that the data that you can find in Data Monitor is still there. It's not gone. So anyone that's familiar with Data Monitor, that information is still there and present. It's just a different, reporting tool. It's still using the same database, so it's still collecting the same information. And the product is available now. So again, encouraging everyone to start using it as soon as possible. Have a look, and get used to the navigation, and hopefully, after this demonstration and me showing you it, that would encourage you even more to actually do that. So let's talk about logging in. So we're now going to move on to sort of the functionalities. So when you log into Sedex Advanced, on the welcome page, you'll see there's a new icon, which is Sedex Analytics. I mentioned before about Data Monitor. That's the old reporting tool, and that still will be present up until the beginning of next year. So we will be sending out sort of a communication about the removal of it, just to give you time, and anyone that's familiar with it. Again, if you're new and you're not familiar with Data Monitor, then you're better off just logging into Analytics if you can, and getting familiar with that. But again, just to remind you, the report data is still the same. Yeah, so it's not removed at all. So the other place you can access analytics is within Sedex Advanced. If you log into Sedex Advanced, you'll see there's a new tab at the top. I think it's normally on the right hand side, and yeah, that's where you can access it. So you got analytics tab. To be honest with you, both of them take you to the same thing. Yeah, so this depends on where you are in the system. You're going to see, yeah, you can just access it from different places. Okay, so once you've clicked on that, that's going to take you into Sedex Analytics. There'll be some tabs on the left. You've got like 4 tabs. Each of the folders would contain, so these are the folders, and they have specific unique icons against them to help you identify where you can find your reports. In each of these folders are basically reports. Yeah, so you click into the folder to access your reports. I'll be showing you the multiple ways of navigation. Yeah, so you can go through the folders, you can search, you can do different variations. But on the left is 4 tabs, and these tabs do various things. To be honest with you, the ones you probably use the most would be Explore and Favorites. So Explore shows you all reports. Favorites is where your favorite reports are stored, so you can make certain reports your favorite, or any report your favorite report, and then they will just sit in the favorites folder, so you can click on that in future instead of having to go all the way through the folders to get to your report. The home tab it just shows you kind of like an overview of information, and then the recents tab is any recent reports you've last viewed. It would just show you in there. So that's another way you can navigate. But yeah, to be honest with you, favorites, Explore, probably the ones you would use, maybe. So when you do go into the Explore tab, again, that's where you can find all your reports. So I mentioned that all of your reports. So this means like any reports you've never clicked into, any reports you may have not, you may not realize that was actually there, you can find in Explore. Yeah, when you start clicking into those reports, then they will be kind of in your recents and the home page as well. So you do need to click into the reports at least once for it to be kind of like a recent, to have a history of that report view. Again, you can add them to your favorites anyway. So yeah, again, you have the icons that help you easily identify the different types of reports, and that's an Explore tab. And there's, depending on who you are, so whether you're a supplier, whether you're a buyer, whether you're an auditor, will determine what type of folders you would have. And again, the folders are the top level. You click into the folder to find the reports. So one of the main reports you probably want to click into is My Supply Chain, which is sorry, not My Supply Chain, it's my mistake. So that's so the My Supply Chain is if you are either an A or AB member, so a buyer, that report's there. But the one for suppliers, I do apologize, is My Company. So this would show you very similar reports to what's in My Supply Chain. The only difference is that these reports are related to your own sites. Yeah, so that's probably what the main one the most frequent one you'll probably use. But there's various other reports depending on your membership, as I mentioned. You've got, if you do have any sort of customer specific SAQs allocated to your account, you can run reports on that, and that will be under my site's modular SAQ, for example. You've got various other reports. If you're part of the social labor convergence program, then you would have, reports relating to your completed assessments. So you can run reports on that. So yeah, there's various different folders that you can access, again, depending on your membership. You also have another way of navigating, if you're not struggling, but if you are, unable to find the report you're looking for, or just, don't prefer to click into the folders, you can type in a keyword, you can type in audit, you can type in SAQ, for example, anything relating to the report title, and then you can easily find that report. Basically, it'll give you a search result. Your report will be there. It's like if you definitely type in SAQ or audits, you're going to get a list of results. So you can search that way as well. So let's look at accessing the actual reports. Again, reports are accessed, or all of the reports are accessed from the Explore tab. And you have your different icons there. And just to mention regarding the navigation sort of journey, when you do click, if you do click on a folder, there's basically 3 clicks before you get to an actual report. Again, mention it now. You probably, when you're using it, you won't even think about it, to be honest with you. Again, you can search in other ways, but if you're clicking into those folders, what you're going to get is the actual report folder, which is the top level folder. You're going to get a subfolder which shows you the actual report's name with a description. And then when you click in that specific report's name, you'll see that there's different views of that report. So each report itself has 2 separate views. So there's 2 separate views for each report. And I will be mentioning the different views. But just as an example of a journey, one of the reports which I will be showing you today is the My Sites Tracker report, which is a good report to see an overview of your supply chain, of your own sites. And the journey for this is that to get to it, if you're using the folders, you click into My Company. That's going to show you a subfolder which says My Sites Tracker. When you click into that one, it's going to show you another kind of basically the actual reports itself. So there's 2, just to remind you, every report has 2 views. So in this folder, you will see 2 report views that you can click into, both with a name of like My Sites Tracker. So this is just an example of the navigation. Again, I'm mentioning it. You probably won't even think about it once you're using it. And just to show you what I mean, let's just go back to the system. So I'm already logged in. So again, I can access analytics from here, or I can actually, let me log in. So I'm logged in as a buyer. Let me log in as a supplier. That would help to show you, the report so you can view. So this is what you would see when you log in, Sedex Analytics. You can also access the reporting tool from Sedex Advanced. So let's say you was viewing Sedex Advanced and now you want to run a report. Instead of having to go back to the welcome page or logging in again and accessing the welcome page, the tab is there. So you got Analytics as well. They both take you to the same place. And when it does load, you will have these 4 tabs, as I mentioned on the left. You've got the different icons to help you identify the reports you're looking for. So your my company reports is in the icon that looks like a factory or site, and you've got a little description as well, just explaining some information for you. I could add this as favorites, so all favorites have a star. To add a favorite, sorry, basically every report has or folder has a star next to it. If it's solid like this one, then that means in future I can just go straight to favorites and access it from here. To be honest with you, you probably want to access it from the actual report view and not, you can do, it's up to you. You can do it from the actual report folder. It just means you still have to click into it to get to where you need to get to. I'm going to go back to Explore just to show you the journey from there as new. So I want to go into My Company. I was showing you the My Sites Tracker one is a good one. So Here it is here. Here's the subfolder. Click onto that. And now there's two separate views of that report. Yeah, so every report has two views. Yeah. So I'm just going back to the presentation and I will explain about the two views. So as mentioned, all reports have two view types available, and these view types are known as dashboard and extract. Yeah, so the dashboard is when you do go into the actual folder, what you're going to see is it doesn't say dashboard, it would just say the title of the report. Yeah, so for example, my site's tracker, that's what it says, and that means it's a dashboard. Again, you can click onto it to then see whether it is the dashboard or not. If it's an extract, then it would actually say extract in the title. Like this one, it says tracker extract, which is basically the extract from this dashboard. So what is the data that sits behind, the actual dashboard information? So that's the two names of the views, and how you identify them. Again, you can click onto it, takes you in, you can see the difference. Now let's explain the difference, right? So dashboard itself, what is a dashboard and what do we mean by dashboard, is the fact that it shows you clearly presented data in the form of maps and graphs. It's easy to view information as well. So this, gives you kind of clear key KPI or key performance indicators instantly when you go in there. So giving you straight answers without you having to filter information, without you having this static information that you may see in the old reporting tool. There's interactive filters and user-friendly filters as well. And what this means is that, there's maps and graphs and charts that you can just click onto, and KPI information that you can click onto, and it will filter the reports. It will filter all of the data in the actual reports itself. So it updates for you, you can filter it, you can then extract that information into Excel or download it into Excel for your, for use in another system, for example. And that's what we mean by the information can be drilled into or drilled down into, which means you can go into it further to see the actual, details behind what you've actually filtered. And how it actually looks is like this. Just an example actually, and I will show you a couple of the examples of the dashboard. So every report has its own dashboard. The dashboard is going to be very similar to this one, which is the My Sites tracker, or it's going to be just KPI information at the top, and then some graphs and charts in there as well. So some of the reports do look slightly different, but the mechanics behind it is very similar. It's going to have KPI or data that you can click onto and interact with, and it will filter the whole of the report. So this is what the dashboard would look like, and I will be looking at it in more detail very shortly. And then the extract, so what sits behind the actual information, the data behind the dashboard, basically is what the extract is. Yeah, showing you detailed information with columns and row, and the structure of this, the rows and the columns are in the same order, in the same layout, collecting the same information as the old reporting tools. So again, if you're an organization that has been using the old reporting tool for years, and you might be curious and not sure about this new reporting tool and whether it's going to collect the information the same, what it does, yeah, it collects it in the same way with the same columns and row and data, and that's where you would go in the extract. You filter the information in the dashboard and view the information in the dashboard, kind of like in clear view, and then you can extract that information in this view and download it. Yeah. Okay, so this is another way to actually access the extract. So you can go into it directly, as you may have saw from the two view options I had. However, if you do go into it straight away, then it's not going to be filtered information. Where you would filter the information is in the dashboard. Yeah, so you go into the dashboard, filter it. Then you have this button that says data sheet, which basically means that this is the extract. When you click into it, it's going to have, if you have added filters, it's going to have those filters in there and only showing you your own sites that your filters is related to. Yeah, and then you can download it. Yeah, so that's that. now we just move on to the navigation buttons, just get you familiarized with that as well. So when you're in the dashboard, there's some options at the top. So you've got undo, redo, revert, and refresh. And I think it's self-explanatory, but undo undoes the last change. And basically what this means is, when you're adding filters or clicking on the interactive information, that's your filters, you can undo it. Yeah. Revert just means undo all, basically reverting it back to the original settings of, when you first went into the report. It reverts back to that, showing you all data. Redo redoes the last change, so you can undo, redo, and then refresh. If you've added filters and you've been idled for maybe a few minutes, you might want to just refresh to make sure it's registered your filters in there. So yeah, it's just a refresh button that you use outside of using the refresh option in your web browser. Then there's navigation options on the map. They're icons, so they're little icons, and they all do different things. So these buttons, as you can see here, again, I will be sharing this with you, and I will show you, point you to the right direction for resource and guidance. But as you can see, you can search on the map, you can zoom in, zoom out, you can revert back to the original zoom, and then you can also select specific areas on the map as well by using the selection tool. And the selection tool or the map functionality button reveals the selections available. Again, just to show you what they do. So you can move the map and scroll the map around with the first option. Area zoom allows you to zoom in on a specific area if you highlight it. Square select just means that it selects in a square shape, like a multiple, whatever your selection is, but in a square shape. And then circle is the same thing, but in a circle shape. And then lasso just means that it allows you to draw your own kind of shape, selecting key areas on the map. So the other way you can select filters as well is by using holding control and then left clicking on the mouse. For example, if there was only like 2 specific regions on the map or areas on the map and they're both kind of far apart, you could draw like a whole shape around it, or you could just hold control and select each one. It might be the only 2 you're interested in on those 2 countries, for example, and they're far apart. You may want to just hold control, or even if it's just multiple, multiple ones, more than one, then you can hold control and click. Now, if it's only one, then you can click on that region and everything in the report would update accordingly. Yeah. Okay, so other things we have here is about exporting. You can download the actual report. Again, you would go into extract to download it. So there's a download button at the top right. Clicking that option will reveal a pop-up window, and the option you want is crosstab. So I'll be showing you this as well very shortly, but just to mention that, so you have that there as well. And then there's filters that you have within the reports. So in the dashboard, for example, you have filters at the top. In some of the reports, there's filters at the top. And this consists of drop-down menus where you can make a selection. You've also got entries where you can actually input, you can change it, for example. So if your interest was about SAQs that are completed 100%, you can change the text or number in there and update it accordingly, and that report would update, the dashboard information would update accordingly as well. Yeah. Other filters you have, which I'll show you, is this icon. So any filters that you create, you can actually save them and load them later. Yeah, so instead of you having to go into this report every day or every week, add in your filters, you can just save it, in the first instance, and then when you return back to this report, you can load that specific filters that you've added from before. And then just to mention again that, the KPI information in some of the reports can be clicked onto. That would update everything else in the report accordingly. And the same thing with the map, when you're selecting specific regions, the KPIs will update as well. Yeah. And then, when you are adding your filters, as a reminder, you can go to data sheets or the extract to actually, see the details behind it, drilling down into the information. And also it's where you would go to download the Excel file. You can search as well. So just to remind you, there's a search option if you're lost or you find it easier to navigate. You can use the search option. So just to mention that, and the fact that you can also add to favorites. So all of the reports or folders have a star, next to it. You can click onto it. That makes it solid, and then that means when you do return, the next time you do return to Sedex Analytics, you can view that in your favorites. So let's take a look now at available reports. So this is where I now start demonstrating those functionalities we've mentioned. But the first report I'm going to go into, which I'm already in actually, is the My Sites Tracker. So this is a good report to see an overview of information, but you can see like the total number of sites in the supply chain or number of sites you have, number of active sites, sites that are due to expire or lapse within 30 days, but you can change the 30 days as well, number of sites with published audits, and so forth. So this gives you, a good overview of your sites information that you can view. And then there's other reports which would show you more detailed information, like audits information or SAQ information. Yeah. So let's take a look. So I'm going to go back. So just to remind you, I navigated so I was in Explore tab. I want to go into My Sites Tracker, which is in the My Company folder, and then it's there. Yeah, and then again, I have two views. I can see the dashboard, which is going to show me all information with no filters, and the same thing with extract. Yeah. Other things to mention is I could just navigate from the search. I could go in here and find it from there, and there it is there. So I've just typed in sites, and it's come up with a few other things in there. Yeah, so I can click on that and access it from there. Or I think I've added it as favorites, so it's already in there, so I could access it from there. So again, that's 3 different ways you can navigate, and it's entirely up to you. So clicking onto that report, what do we see? So let's take a look. So in this one, again, you've got this, KPI information, so I can see clear information related to the sites around, that I have. I can also see the audit findings as well relating to those sites. The filters at the top I can change and update. For example, it says that there's only one site that's completed a minimum of 95%, so they could be 100%. There's a total of 15 sites. 2 of them are without audits. 12 of them have SAQ not updated. So just to mention as well, this is test data that I'm viewing, so it's not real accounts that I'm looking at. And then we can see an overview of their audit findings. We can hover the mouse over the different areas. Yeah, so it's interactive. It shows you sort of, an update, so a bit of narrative as well, just giving you sort of a breakdown just on this one page. We can see, let's say I'm interested in the 12 sites that did not complete the SAQ in the last 6 months. So I can click on that, for example. Everything else will update accordingly. I'm not sure if you've seen the change, but basically the total sites is no longer 15, it's updated. That's still the same. So there's some indicators that will show the same. But when it comes to audit findings, that has actually changed because we're now only interested in the 12 and not the 15 that was originally on the default. So I can add filters that way. If it's a filter added in the KPI, then it would highlight in this color, so it would highlight blue. I can untick it by just clicking onto it, so that unchecks it. And then I now return to, my full view of the 15 sites. I could start using the map. The scroll, if you're using a mouse, you've got like the little scroll option in the middle, like in between the left click and right click. That would also allow you to zoom as well. So I'm doing it now just to show you. That can allow you to zoom, but you can also use the plus and minus on there. This option here, so the map functionality button, allows you to draw your own shapes or select a shape. Let's say I'm interested in, this region. I can sort of hover it and change the radius in there or create a radius. So it now only shows the ones that I've selected. I can do that, or I can, other things you can do is draw your own shape and select your own sites in that shape. So let's say I want this one. on Algeria there, yeah. So that's added. There's no other things in those regions. So now the report would update accordingly. And if I want to know sort of more information about that as well, so where's that location? I mean, I can zoom in as well, but we've got that there. So Tunisia, there's 2 sites in Tunisia, and then there's 1 site in Algeria. And I can see, there's a total of 3. One of those sites have completed, pretty much most of the SAQ. One of the sites have a SAQ not updated. You see there's 18 audit information, or audits published, sorry. Non-compliance is 44 and so forth. Yeah. If I want to select individually, then I can. Let's say, this one in Pakistan, I want to select this one site, but I also want to select the one in France. Yeah, you could draw a shape big enough for it if you want to. Entirely up to you. But holding control and then left clicking on the mouse will select, multiple regions there, and then the report would update accordingly. Yeah, so it's now showing me information relating to the ones I've selected. Let's say that this filter is what I want and I'm happy with it. Then I can click this icon here, which is filter. This will then allow me to save the filter settings. So clicking that, you can then name it, give it a name. Oop. There we go. So we can give it a name, save it. And then that means in future, I can load that specific report. Yeah, so clicking onto it and then clicking load. So let's say I want this filter, this is the report I want to run on a regular basis and see it update. Just to mention about updates, if you're not familiar with data monitor and how it works, the update for reports is every 24 hours. So let's say, there's changes being made by suppliers or by your sites today. You won't see the change when you run the reports until tomorrow. So it's a 24-hour process. So that's no different. That's the same with analytics. Yeah. So the analytics, this data, let's say you look at, you're looking at these sites information now, and then a week later you log in, you may see an update. There may be some changes that have been made on that site. So you would see that change, within 24 hours. Now, let's say this is the report I want to run on a regular basis. Then on the right-hand side, you have data sheets. Just clicking that takes me into the extract. So I now can see the information for those 2 sites. And when I scroll across, I can also see more detailed information. So this is the My Sites tracker. So this is just giving me an overview, but it's giving me more, more details. Excuse me. So switched over there by accident. So it's just giving me more details about the actual report. So just showing me the columns and rows, which are basically the same columns as data monitor. So it gives me like the company name, the site, the function of the site, what products they produce, when they last had an audit published, and so forth. Yeah, and then it moves on to that information. So SAQ progress. This is a percentage. It doesn't say percentage, but SAQ progress 24 means 24%, and then 26 is 26%. Yeah, you got that information in there. This is the report I want. Just click download. I can then go to crosstab, which is how you download it into Excel or CSV. Click that, and then now I have it. So if I show you what that data extract looks like, it's just on my other screen, so just show you there. Yeah, so it just looks like this. Yeah, so you've got the columns row and the information you need. Yeah, and then you can use that in external systems where necessary. Okay, so let's take a look at some other reports. So another good report to look at is the My Suppliers Audits and Findings. With this report, there are 2 reports, which means that there's 4 views. So again, each report has 2 views each. So that means that there would be 4 types of views that you can have, and that will be the dashboard and extracts for each one. So this one looks very similar in regards to structure to the sites tracker, which is fine, but the data is looking at is different. Yeah, so it's just focused around audits, where the site tracker is looking at kind of a generic information of all. If you're interested in detailed information behind audits and findings, then this is the report you would use. Yeah. So what this report would show is the audit nature per site. total number of audits and findings, most common findings, various findings by type, breakdown of non-compliance, and so forth. So it gives you, great insight into that information for you to run. And the audit dashboard looks different to the findings dashboard. So the findings dashboard is more of a kind of chart and graph report. But again, rules apply in regards to you can click on the information. You have filters at the top that you can change and so forth. Okay, so other things you can do in here in regards to navigating and finding reports is at the top. So when you're in a dashboard or extract, you don't have a search bar. You just have like this magnifying glass, which is basically your search. So clicking it reveals the search bar. Then you can put your search in. If you have saved a group of or any favorites, then if you're in a dashboard or an extract, you have this star icon. Yeah, clicking that means I then can see my favorites, and I can just go straight to my favorites from here as well. Yeah, you can search for it if your list is very long. I don't think there's a long enough list, or I don't think there's that many reports to be a very long list if you added all of them as your favorites. So other ways you can actually add your favorites is from here. So in each report, there is this star icon next to the name. If I click that, that means it's now, so it's unticked it, but if I click it, it means it's now saved as a favorite. So I can access it from here in future. If you're in the dashboard, you can do the same thing. Yeah. So another way of navigating as well is the fact that you have this breadcrumb trail where you can click onto to take you back. So the first folder I was in was the first tab I was in was Explore. I then went into My Company and then Site Tracker and Tracker Extract I'm in at the moment. So if I want to go back to this, the actual folder itself, because I know there was other reports in there, I can just click My Company and that's going to take me back. The report I want is My Audits and Findings. Again, you could use the search option to find it as well. It's up to you. So I mentioned that this report has two report types, one for audits, one for findings, which means that there's 4 views in total. So dashboard, extract for the findings. Clicking audit takes me in. Again, this is quite similar to the structure of the site's tracker. You have your filters at the top. The main difference is the fact that this report is looking at a specific area. Yeah, it's covering a specific area, which is audits. So the KPIs is relating to audits and so forth. And when we look at the different regions or areas, then that's also looking at relating to audits. The drop down menus at the top we can change. So let's say my interest was only audit nature. Yeah, I can untick the ones that's not relevant. Yeah, so unticking these, and then if you do start adding filters in here, just make sure you click apply to make sure it kind of sinks in and registers, and then the report would update accordingly. So my thing was I only want to see full initial audits, so I've done that, and now it's only relating to full initial audits. Yeah, and then the total will update accordingly. Let's say I'm only interested in full follow-ups or periodic audits. Let's try that, see if there's any data there. So I'm only interested in periodic. Click apply. That's now updated. Yeah. So just to remind you, periodics and full audits are the same type of audit. The difference is that periodic is, full is when an audit has been done on for the first time at a specific site, and then periodic are the continuous audits that happens after that full initial audit. So it doesn't actually change to periodic, but if you hover the mouse, kind of gives you the narrative there. There's 21 full and 6 of them, which is what it's relating to, is periodic. I can then hover the mouse and view kind of like the total in those areas and see the information there. I can add this as my favorites in the filter. The eye icon just shows you information about the map. Yeah, so the map can be interacted with as well. Let's say I don't want all of them. I only want this region. So if I select it, then it updates accordingly. Yeah. And then let's say that this is the report I want to run. data sheets, takes me to that extract. It's now, if you think, showing me detailed information, which is, the dashboard, quick information to view and filter, extract more detailed information that it's going to tell me and show me. So, in this one, it shows you, which again is similar to data monitor. It shows you like the, who conducted the audit, what was the audit scope, things like who was it created by, and the description of the auditor as well, so you can see that information. Yeah, so again, a useful report to run. So other things is the findings. So if I go back to my site's audits and findings, right, so the findings tab, findings report or dashboard looks different. Yeah, so it does look different to what we've seen so far, but the same rules apply. Yeah, so at the top you've got your filters, and you can filter to show what you want to see. In this one, you've got sort of subtitles that you can find allocated around this report. So common findings, this section here is relating to that. You've got a scroll bar just here that you can scroll through and see what the common findings are. It's looking at the top 10 findings. You can change that. Yeah, so you can change it and make it, top 5 if you want to. The findings by type is showing me sort of a chart of the findings by type. What do they mean, these color codes? So you can see that here on the chart key. So red is non-compliance, observation is this sort of yellow color, and then green is good example. So we can see how many there were. At the bottom, you've got this one just giving you, so this is about the non-compliances, depending on the criticality. So it's giving you details about the criticality. And then you've got this legend key again, which just explains, what the different color codes mean. Yes, you can see that if it's the dark sort of pink, that means it's an overdue and carried over non-compliance. If it's sort of light pink, it's an overdue and new, and so forth. Yeah, and then if it's yellow or dark yellow, then it's not overdue and carried over. And then the same, not overdue and new for the light sort of color. Hovering the mouse over those will give you sort of more detailed information as well. So you can see, if your interest was this 7, you can click onto it, and it's going to update the rest of the report information to show, that is your focus. Yeah, this 7 here, I want to focus more on that one. As you can see, the findings tab's updated, and also the common section, common findings tab or section has updated as well. And you can see what are the 7 common findings there. So, if I wanted to run a report on this one, I can. Again, I can add this as filters. I can save that in there. I can go to data sheets and see more detailed information about these findings. So it's all under the one site. So I can scroll across. Oops, done it again. Apologies. So I can scroll across. I think I can't see my scroll bar. That's what the problem is. It's very it's just off my screen a little bit. So if I can scroll across, you can see more detailed information about your findings. So now I can see, what is the actual issue title, issue type. I can see that. Well, you can see that on the dashboard, but other things like the actual description of the findings, which is what the auditor will enter. This is where you would go. Yeah, so you can find this column here and see the details. Again, these are the test accounts, so you can't see the full details in there. But yeah, just giving you an insight on that. I can add it to favorites. I can also download it, and click cross tab. If you ever get where cross tab is not available, I mean, I've had it available in mine. If you ever see that this is grayed out and you can't click onto it like this, just ensure that you've clicked on the report. Anywhere in the report, I like to click just up the top here in the title before I go to download, and then it's available. Yeah, so that's if I ever go to straight to download and I see that cross tab is not available, just cancel that, click somewhere in the report and go back to download, and it should be available. Okay, so maybe look at one more report before we finish, and I'll just mention some of the other reports as well. So another good report to look at, or a report to look at, is My Supplier Sites Workers. This is a new type of report that we have available. This is the worker analysis report. And what this report would show is the number of workers against your site, number of workers by gender, percentage of workers by gender, worker types by gender, and also the gender majority by type, to see the balance, to see, you know, different sort of aspects of that. So it's a good report you may want to run. And as you can see where the location is, it's under my company and then my site's worker numbers. So if I go to that report and just show you, so again, I can just type it in under search, or I can go back to my company, just click in the breadcrumb trail, and then I want to go to my site's worker numbers. Click on that one. Again, there's two views, you know, the dashboard extract, click the worker analysis dashboard, and that's going to show me all data in this specific report. You know, let's look at this report. So the worker analysis, what I was mentioning is that you have your KPIs at the top. Now there's some KPIs that can't be clicked onto or won't do anything if you click it. So if you ever see that, or how you know whether it's going to do something or not, is when I hover the mouse, you know, it's telling me that this KPI cannot be used to filter the dashboard. However, you know, when I look at, for example, the genders, they can, yeah. So if I click on female, for example, it's going to update the report, it's going to update the map, and also the information at the bottom to represent, you know, what I've clicked onto. It might not have been a good idea with my system not working greatly, but this is, you know, a good report to view. You can see at the bottom of the page, it's got the worker by type, so the different types of workers, so agency, you know, permanent, temporary. And then, you know, when it comes to gender majority by type, you can see a comparison. If I just uncheck that and get that to reload again, you can see which gender is the majority. Yeah, so whichever one it is, you can see what the key means basically. So it's saying, you know, for agency it's male, for home it's male, permanent, and then what the gray means. Yeah. Okay, so again, I can, you know, add my filters in here. I can zoom in on the map if I want to. I can see the different regions. I can use the tools to select the different regions on the map. I can select if I need to and save my filters. I can also go into data sheets to see. I've already selected the one size, but I can go into data sheets and see more detailed information. I can then download it, export it into Excel. And then, I mean, the report I was going to use as the example because the other one, that one wasn't working, but you can view it as well, is the My Suppliers SAQ analysis. And this shows you sort of SAQ or self-assessment questionnaire data, like the last, you know, when was the last SAQ updated, and information of when it was last updated. You can also see information related to sites that's completed the SAQ at a specific percentage. It does say 95% here, as it is the default setting. However, you can change it. And you can also see the questions answered against the SAQ as well. So that's another good report to see that information. Another report that's available is the supplier health check. So that's one worth looking at as well. This one is only available if you do have the additional add-on, or the add-on of Sedex member directory. So Sedex member directory is free. If you do have the add-on piece, which is Supplier Plus, then you'll be able to run the supplier health check report. And this, you know, is a useful report which shows you audit finding comparison, you know, site, company, SAQ, risk. So a good sort of overview and comparison to showcase your best practices. Yeah. And then other reports that are available is like list of Sedex users, which is good to see, you know, who has access to in your organization to the system. You've also got the global non-compliance breakdown, which shows you non-compliance for each issue category using our database of information. The SLCP reports, which is the Social Labor Convergence Program, that shows you reports of completed assessments. Again, you would need to be part of the SLCP or registered to SLCP. And again, it's only focused around apparel and footwear suppliers. If you're part of that, you can run reports on that information as well. And where you can find resources is on Sedex eLearning. If you just search for the course name, running reports on your company data, you'll be able to see the resources available. So there's step-by-step guidance in there, which is very useful. And also just to mention that you can input your feedback. So when you're using the reports, we would like to know your feedback. How, is there something missing? I mean, the thing is, like we said, we want to improve on what we have. We want to make sure that it's running the data that you would like to see and expect to see. So all of your suggestions and feedbacks will be great. So there is an opportunity for you to provide feedback. And that's found on the Sedex website under Our Services. If you click onto the sub tab, you've got Sedex Analytics, and then when you scroll down, it's got helpful information on this page as well. But if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you've got a section where you can input your feedback. If you just expand that and then click the form is here, just click that, and that's where you can input your feedback. So it'd be great to input your feedback in there.